Okay, what are we doing today?
We're having wine class.
A wine class. Well, so we split this into two sessions because the initial session was going to be on two different wines, varietal wines, from one of my favorite California estates, which we'll do after this one. And what we discovered was that the wines were too cold. So we decided, as the American expression goes, what do you do when you're given lemons? You make lemonade, right? So you do something useful with it. And so let's talk about temperature in red wines, what to do when the red wine is too hot, or why, and what to do when the red wine is too cold, and why.
When it's too hot, put them...
Yeah.
Yeah, too warm, put them in the fridge.
Yeah. So when you have a warm red wine, or a warm white wine as well, the alcohol becomes magnified. The fruit drops down, and you wind up with something less than pleasant. The hotter the red wine gets, the less, or white wine gets, the less pleasant it is. Okay, so you rob the wine of fruit, and you supercharge the power of the alcohol, and it gives you heat, and it's not really pleasant at all. So there have been many times when I've gone to restaurants, certainly here in the United States, restaurants usually serve their red wines too warm and their white wines too cold. And so when I am in a restaurant setting and they serve me some wine that is not cellar temperature or slightly warmer than that, I ask for an ice bucket. And they look at me like I'm crazy, right? Yeah, this nut is in here. He wants an ice bucket for his red wine. The next thing I know, they think I'll be putting ice cubes in my red wine. And so when you do that, then the alcohol level becomes less apparent. The fruit opens up, and you have a wine that you really want to drink.
Yeah. That's a better wine, right?
It's a better wine. On the opposite side of the coin is when you have wines that are too cold. And it can be white wines or red wines. So the better the quality of the white wine in general, you want it served slightly warmer. So you can taste more flavors. The flip side of that, if you've got really crappy white wine, you want to chill it as much as you can.
Okay.
And so, say, chill it and swill it. Serve it ice cold, and people will drink it as a refreshing drink. There are reasons sometimes why producers or people selling wine will try to serve you a wine that's too cold. Do you know why?
They want to hide something.
They want to hide something, right? It's like,
right.
peekaboo. And so what they're usually trying to hide are high alcohol levels or high volatile acidity levels, or both. I was on a trip, I won't say where, country that I went to, people were very nice, but they served all the wines really cold, white wines and red wines. And I thought, why are they doing this? And then I realized they were trying to cover up the volatile acidity and the high alcohol levels in the red wines and also in the white wines, which was not a good thing.
Did you warm up them?
Well, so when you have these cold wines, and now let's take a feel. These aren't ice cold. Here, try it in your hand. But it's still pretty cold, and it's not really leaving a frost bit on the glass, but it's pretty close to doing so.
Right.
You could try warming up the wine, putting the wine in the palm of your glass, in your palms, the glass in your palms, and that's cold enough to make your palms hurt a little bit, right? So we've got, so that's one way to do it. Swirling helps.
Okay. Smells good though.
Yeah, that smells wonderful.
Yeah.
If you're really in a rush, you've got this cold red bottle of wine, you could put it in some slightly warm water. If you're really daring, you could put it in the microwave.
What?
You have to be very careful because you then can turn the wine into really bad wine quickly. Many people, when they open up a bottle of red wine and they have a little bit of it and they say, okay, we've had enough for today, put a cork in it. Yeah. You can put a cork in it, you can spray and put some inert gas in it. You can use a vacuum in and try to suck out some of the air.
We do.
Right. Another thing that you can do is that you can put it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And if you do that, chilling the wine down slows down chemical reactions, which is a good thing. But then the bad thing happens. You have to be careful as to how you warm the wine up. When the wine is sat in the refrigerator with a level of ullage, right, space where there's air, as you chill a liquid down, mineral like this one, the solubility of gases, especially oxygen, increases. So you now get more oxygen in the wine, which is okay while the wine is chilled, but as you warm that wine up, that wine will oxidize pretty quickly.
Okay.
So those wines that have been left in the refrigerator, the red wines, either drink them fairly cold or be careful how you warm them up and realize you have to drink them pretty quickly.
Right.
Now let's talk about these wines as well. When you have older wines, and these aren't that old, but one wine is 7 years from the vintage,
Okay.
and the other wine is 10 years from the vintage. What we notice is that the wines seem to have thrown a good amount of sediment in the bottle. Now, when you have an older wine, what you want to do before you serve it is that you want to have it upright for a while.
Okay.
And the reason being is that just enough time, a couple of hours, so that the sediment goes down to the bottom of the bottle. Because if you leave it this way, you move it this way, the sediment's going to go around the place, and then you wind up with a wine that is a little bit cloudy. And there's nothing wrong with that in terms of tasting it. In some ways, it could be the polyphenols, healthy polyphenols may be better for you. But many people don't want to drink cloudy wine.
Okay.
They want the wine to be very, very clear. And so let's just talk about it again, what we spoke about today. So it's a little mini lesson about temperature and wine and some storage of wine. So when you've got a wine that's too cold, unless it's a really cheap white wine, you would like that to be somewhat warmed up. So if you've got a really nice bottle of white wine, I like to drink those at cellar temperature, maybe a little bit cooler. I don't like to drink them at room temperature as found in rooms in many places during the summertime. Those wines will taste too alcoholic and the fruit will drop out, and so you want to chill those. Then with red wines, if you have the red wines at two extremes, if the wine is too cold, you will make the flavors get fairly tight. The tannins become harsher when the wine is colder. If you warm that up to cellar temperature or a little bit above, it's going to be tasting much better. And you can do that in combination with aerating the wine. Decanting is another way that you can help make the wine warmer. If on the other hand you've got wines that are too hot, right, that accentuates the alcohol, the fruit and flavors drop out, and so you want to chill those wines down so that the wine tastes fresh and the fruit is fresher. Sounds simple,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't believe, when you go to a restaurant, you pay a premium, right? You're paying more, far more than
Right.
wholesale, often
3
far more
times.
than retail, right? And so what my expectation is that the wines can be served at the correct temperature with some reasonable stemware. Often that's not the case, right? That sometimes, as I said before, white wines come out too cold, easy, you let them warm up. But when the red wine, if I get a bottle of Pinot Noir, and it comes out, it's summertime, and it's stored in a non-air-conditioned room, or some room off the kitchen, and the wine's now, I don't know, 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So what, 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Those wines don't taste refreshing, and my solution is I pop them in an ice bucket for a bit. Twirl it around, you can taste it a little bit until it's of your liking, then you take it out of the ice bucket. So we talked about temperature. Another way you can warm up wines is by talking too much, so you create a lot of hot air in the room. And that warms up the
Like
wines as
this
well.
room.
Like this room. So we now have, I think, warmed up the wines enough. So we're going to end this session. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Hopefully temperature and storage matters. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with a session on these two wines.
Bye. Cheers.
Every drop in the instant line. Winding my soul.